In every society and every era, one question burns beneath the surface of power. What should a man do when he is disrespected? Most people react. They shout, they argue, they try to prove their worth in the eyes of others. But the moment you react, you lose. Curtis Yarvin, the political philosopher, often described as one of the most controversial thinkers of our time, doesn't just see disrespect as an insult, he sees it as an opportunity to measure the truth of one's power. In a world obsessed with image, approval, and social validation, Yarvin's philosophy is brutally simple. Don't seek to be respected. Become someone who cannot be disrespected. That's not arrogance, that's sovereignty. The kind of sovereignty that doesn't scream for attention, doesn't demand revenge, and doesn't explain itself. It simply exists and the world adapts around it. This is the dark philosophy of Curtis Yarvin, a guide into the deeper mechanics of power, pride, and silence. In this journey, we'll uncover how Yarvin's approach to disrespect reshapes the traditional ideas of ego, leadership, and inner strength. It's not about fighting for recognition. It's about transcending the very game of recognition itself. Part 1. The Illusion of Respect. Curtis Yarvin begins with a truth that most people refuse to face. Respect is not a currency you earn. It's an illusion people give when they sense power. In modern society, we are taught that respect must be mutual, that everyone deserves it, and that you can earn it by being good, humble, or fair. But Yarvin cuts through this illusion like a blade. He says mutual respect exists only among equals, but equality itself is a myth created to comfort the powerless. To handle disrespect the Yarvin way, one must first understand this. The need for respect is the root of weakness. When you crave validation, you hand over control to others. You become their subject. You let their opinions sculpt your self-worth. Yarvin's philosophy reverses that dynamic. He asks, why should the sun care if the candle mocks it? To him, disrespect is not an offense, it's information. It reveals the small minds that cannot comprehend strength. It exposes who sees you as competition. So instead of reacting, Yarvin would advise observe. Disrespect is not to be avenged. It is to be studied. Because every insult is a confession. When someone disrespects you, they are revealing their weakness, their insecurity, their envy, all dressed as boldness. To rise above disrespect, Yarvin teaches you to withdraw your emotional energy from the petty theater of validation. To become indifferent is to become invincible. And that indifference is not coldness, it's clarity. The man who understands this illusion stops demanding respect. He no longer argues with fools or lowers himself to explain his worth. He becomes a mirror, silent, still, and unshaken, while others expose their own chaos in reflection. That is the first step into Yarvin's darkness, to stop fighting for respect and start embodying it through presence. Part 2. The Power of Silence. In a culture that rewards noise, the silent man becomes terrifying. Curtis Yarvin's second lesson in handling disrespect is silence weaponized. He believes that silence is the highest form of dominance because it denies the world what it craves, most your reaction. When you do not respond, you create mystery, and mystery is power. Most people feel forced to explain themselves, defend their reputation, or justify their actions. But Yarvin teaches the opposite. Explanation is submission. Every time you explain yourself to someone who disrespected you, you are acknowledging their power to judge you. Instead, let your silence be the echo that haunts them. People fear silence because it forces them to confront themselves. When they insult you and you don't react, they start wondering if you see something they don't. They start questioning their own position. This is the psychological reversal Yarvin points to. By saying nothing, you make them feel smaller. Your silence turns into a mirror, showing them the emptiness of their provocation. Yarvin's writings often hint at a kind of aristocratic stillness not born from pride, but from knowing the difference between reaction and command. The one who reacts is ruled by others. The one who commands does not speak, he is spoken about. Handling disrespect the Yarvin way is not about confrontation. It's about control of narrative. You control the story when you don't participate in their version of it. Imagine a room filled with noise arguments, debates, egos colliding, and in the middle of it, one man remains quiet, calm, untouched. That man becomes the center of gravity. That man becomes the leader. In that silence, respect is not demanded. It is drawn naturally, pulled by the unseen magnetism of power that does not beg to be seen. So Yarvin's second rule is this: the most powerful words are the ones you never say. To win against disrespect, do not fight for attention. Withdraw and let your absence become their obsession. Your silence will echo louder than any defense ever could. Part 3. The Art of Detachment. Curtis Yarvin often writes about power as a form of emotional detachment, the ability to remain unaffected by the noise of others. To him, attachment is vulnerability. The more you need others to understand you, the easier it is for them to control you. In the realm of disrespect, detachment is not cold-heartedness, it is emotional sovereignty. It means that the way others treat you does not determine the way you feel about yourself. Yarvin's philosophy borrows this from ancient Stoicism but darkens it. He doesn't just want you to control your emotions. He wants you to use their attacks as fuel for distance. He would say, if they can touch your mind, they already own you. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring the insult. It means seeing it with perfect clarity, understanding where it came from, why it was said, and then refusing to let it define your narrative. Every act of disrespect is an attempt to pull you into someone else's emotional theater. And the moment you step on that stage, you are no longer the director, you're a performer. So what does Yarvin advise? Withdraw your attention. Attention is the currency of power. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. And the one who can't control his attention becomes a puppet in the hands of manipulators. To handle disrespect with strength is to treat it like a test, not of your pride, but of your detachment. When someone mocks you, gossips about you, or tries to humiliate you, imagine yourself as a mountain. The winds may scream, the clouds may rage, but the mountain does not move. Its silence is not weakness, it's weight. Yarvin's dark wisdom reminds us, power doesn't shout, it simply exists. That existence, calm, centered, and indifferent, is the art of detachment. Detachment is not running away from conflict. It is standing still while the world burns around you, and realizing that nothing external can touch your internal empire. The one who can do that, who can look at disrespect and remain unshaken, becomes untouchable. That is where true power begins. Part 4. The Inversion of Weakness. In Yarvin's philosophy, there's a psychological trick he calls the inversion of weakness, the ability to turn disrespect into a silent form of control. It sounds paradoxical, but the dark logic is this: when others disrespect you, they're trying to lower your state to drag you down to their emotional level. If you refuse to descend, their attempt becomes an exposure of their own weakness. Yarvin observes that most people confuse loudness with strength. They think the one who speaks the most is winning. But the dark philosopher understands that noise is the camouflage of insecurity. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest, because they are trying to fill the void of their own doubt. Disrespect, therefore, becomes a map. It shows you exactly who is beneath you, not socially, but psychologically. It marks who still depends on chaos for identity. And that's where inversion happens. The insult they throw at you returns to them, not because you retaliated, but because you remained above it. Your refusal to react becomes an invisible mirror that shows them their impotence. Yarvin's approach doesn't aim to correct disrespect. He lets it rot in the one who delivered it. He believes when you refuse to play the fool's game, the fool eventually drowns in his own theater. So instead of responding, he advises a kind of elegant withdrawal, not retreat, but transcendence. You rise above the noise so completely that your silence becomes judgment. Imagine this: someone mocks you in front of others expecting anger or defense. But instead you simply look through them, calm, amused, unmoved. In that moment, the power shifts. You have inverted the dynamic. They wanted you to feel small, and now they are the one who feels insignificant. This inversion is not cruelty. It's psychological aikido, using their energy against them without a single word. Handling disrespect the Yarvin way is not about pride. It's about psychological mastery. And that mastery doesn't come from dominance, it comes from depth. From knowing that the one who cannot be disturbed by small minds has already ascended beyond them. The inversion of weakness turns the insult into a lesson and the disrespect into your silent throne. Part 5. The Architecture of Power. By now, Curtis Yarvin's dark philosophy becomes clear. Every act of disrespect is not a battle to fight, but a structure to understand. Power, in his view, is not just political or social. It is architectural. Something you build within yourself layer by layer, until no external force can shake it. He says that the reason most people crumble under disrespect is because they have built their identity on weak foundations, on approval, on praise, on belonging. But a man of true power builds differently. He builds inwardly. He becomes his own foundation. Yarvin often compares society to a crumbling empire. Everyone fighting for recognition, everyone desperate to be seen. And in that chaos, the rare individual who remains unmoved becomes magnetic. His calm becomes contagious. His authority emerges not from words, but from presence. That is the architecture of power, an inner fortress that no insult can breach. The moment you realize that no one can truly disrespect you without your permission, you begin to construct that fortress. Every slight, every insult, every betrayal becomes a brick. You take each one, not emotionally, but strategically, and you use it to strengthen your walls. While others seek validation, you seek structure. While others demand recognition, you cultivate endurance. Yarvin would call this power without negotiation. It means you do not trade your energy for acknowledgement. You exist in your own world, governed by your own values, beyond the fragile opinions of the crowd. The architecture of power is not built in comfort, it's built in conflict. Every time you handle disrespect with silence, you lay another stone in your foundation. Every time you detach instead of react, your fortress grows taller. Every time you observe instead of explain, your authority deepens. And soon something remarkable happens. You no longer fear disrespect, because you have turned it into your building material. The very thing that used to weaken you now constructs your strength. This is Yarvin's dark genius. He teaches you not to destroy your enemies, but to use their hostility as energy for your ascension. Because once your inner architecture is complete, disrespect no longer exists. There are only voices echoing outside your castle walls unheard. Irrelevant, forgotten. That is what it means to handle disrespect the Curtis Yarvin way, not through resistance, but through transcendence. Part 6. The Mirror of Disrespect. Curtis Yarvin once implied that every encounter with disrespect is not truly about the other person, it's about you. He calls it the mirror. When you face someone who disrespects you, you're not confronting their words. You're confronting the parts of yourself that still crave recognition. The mirror is uncomfortable. It exposes your hidden insecurities, the wounds you thought were healed. That sting of disrespect you feel? It is not created by them, it's created by your attachment to being seen in a certain light. Yarvin's dark insight is this: no one can truly disrespect you without your silent permission. Their words may reach your ears, but they only wound when your ego opens the door. Most people live inside fragile mirrors, constantly reflecting how others see them, trapped in the endless cycle of self-image. Yarvin's philosophy is to shatter that mirror. Once it's broken, nothing external can define you anymore. He says the strongest man is not the one who destroys his enemies, but the one who no longer sees them. That means transcending the emotional battlefield, not by running from it, but by seeing through it. Every time you are disrespected and remain calm, something happens deep within. The false self dies a little. The ego loses a layer of control, and beneath that shedding, a new kind of strength begins to form, one that no insult can reach. This is the secret transformation. Yarvin speaks of the alchemy of the soul through insult. When the untrained mind hears disrespect, it burns with reaction. But the disciplined mind, the sovereign mind, converts that heat into clarity. So the next time someone disrespects you, do not see an enemy, see a mirror. Do not hear their insult, hear your reaction. Observe it, understand it, and let it dissolve. Yarvin teaches that this is how power matures, not by dominating others, but by mastering your own emotional response. Because once you can look into the mirror of disrespect and feel nothing but stillness, you have already transcended the entire game. That stillness is not weakness. It is arrival. The arrival at a place where external voices no longer hold dominion over your inner empire. That is the mirror's gift, a reflection that no longer distorts who you are. Part 7. Becoming untouchable. There comes a point in every man's evolution when he stops playing the Emotional games of society. This is where Curtis Yarvin's philosophy reaches its final and darkest truth: to become untouchable. Untouchable does not mean isolated. It means internally sovereign. It is not arrogance. It is self-command. The world may still speak your name, praise you, mock you, envy you, but none of it moves you. Yarvin's untouchable man does not measure his worth in reactions or results. He measures it in stillness and how little he needs from others to remain whole. This state cannot be faked. It is earned through endless trials of disrespect, betrayal, misunderstanding, and judgment, until you finally realize that the only power that matters is the one you don't have to prove. When you reach this level, your energy changes. Your silence becomes louder. Your eyes carry a calm that disturbs those who seek to provoke you. They sense it, and that their words can no longer pierce you. And in that moment, the balance of power shifts forever. Yarvin often writes about the throne of perception, the ability to control how others experience you, not by speaking but by existing with unwavering presence. The untouchable man sits upon this throne effortlessly. He doesn't demand respect, he defines what respect is through his very being. Every time someone disrespects him, they only reinforce his control, because their attempts expose their lack of self-mastery. He becomes the quiet architect of every interaction, unseen, yet always in control. To become untouchable is to understand that power is not about dominance or fear. It is about psychological gravity, the unseen force that makes others orbit your calmness. This is the essence of Curtis Yarvin's dark way: to become a man so internally fortified that disrespect dissolves before it even touches your mind. Not because you resist it, but because you exist on a frequency above it. Ending the sovereign shadow. So what have we learned from Curtis Yarvin's dark philosophy of handling disrespect? That the path to true power does not lie in revenge, reaction, or retaliation, but in stillness, silence, and self-command. Disrespect is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the universe asking, are you still attached? If you are, you'll react. If you're not, you'll rise. Every insult becomes a test of sovereignty, a moment to see whether you rule yourself or whether you're still ruled by the opinions of others. Yarvin's wisdom is not meant to make you colder. It's meant to make you clearer, to see the truth beneath the noise. That power is not something you demand. It's something you become. So stop chasing respect. Stop explaining yourself. Stop fighting for recognition in a world too distracted to understand strength. Instead, build your silence. Sharpen your detachment. Construct your inner fortress until no one's voice can reach its walls. Because once you become that calm presence and that silent observer, disrespect loses its meaning. The weak still speak, the small still mock, but none of it touches you. You have become what Curtis Yarvin describes between his lines: a sovereign shadow, a man beyond approval, beyond validation, beyond reaction. You are no longer in their world. You are the stillness they cannot disturb, the quiet authority they secretly envy, the power they'll never understand. That is how the dark philosopher handles disrespect, not through anger, not through pride, but through the mastery of self, where the mind is the throne and silence is the crown.